Hello, welcome to my channel, and thank you for being here. Today I'm going to talk about three images again, which continue along the theme of the political violence that was part of our build-up to political freedom in 1994. The immense sacrifices that were made by people to bring and make 1994 possible. And the three images that I'm discussing today, the one that you've seen and you're seeing again now, the first one, are from one moment, one event, basically, one day, an event that I, in this particular occasion, embedded myself within a community in the community of Mpopomeni. I spent several days as a guest of the trade union at the time, and lived with the worker in the community, and in order to get a bit more of an in-depth understanding and view of what was happening in that particular community. Mpopomeni was very important in the sense that this was the community, the township from which most of the workers, if not all of the workers who were involved in a strike known as the BTR Samcoal Workers strike. It was then the union of the time was the Metal and Allied Workers Union of South Africa, which is now National Union of Mine Workers, Metal Workers of South Africa. Went on strike after 970 workers were fired from this factory in Howick. Mpopomeni is located next to Howick, just outside Howick. And this was a British transnational company. BTR stands for British Tire and Rubber. And the workers organized majorly against the strike, against this firing, and in what became the longest campaign, the longest strike, I think, to date in South African history. And the people of Mpopomeni paid a major price for their resilience and their resistance. Because in December 1985, ICATA busted supporters in, and I've spoken a bit about this earlier. I'm not quite sure the number of the talk, but it was a young activist who was one of the injured in that attack, in which four office bearers were abducted and assassinated. But the community was subject to an attack when the IFP, which busted supporters in to the community hall, held a meeting there, roused up the attendees, who then went on a rampage afterwards, attacking the community. I locate that as the nexus of the beginning of what I call the Natal War, the war a civil war that ravaged and throughout the province of KwaZulu-Natal at the time. And the images that you're looking at now, the caption reads, "Funeral of two young comrades abducted and killed in the Natal War. Mpopomeni, KwaZulu-Natal, 1987. So this was in the year subsequent to that, 1986. The war raged, and it continued into this period where you see these young comrades running through the landscape, again an image that is quite, one of my iconic images associated with that violence in that province. One of the ones that comes to mind in the popular imagination, I do believe. Although there were many other great photographs made by many other photographers, obviously. Um, that was possible because I was embedded in that community. I was seen as being part of, and I haven't said this in the series of talks yet. I mean, I'm an activist photographer first and foremost, unashamedly. That's my position. I come from a working class background. My first 8 years were working in a sugar factory, and I was inducted through the emerging trade unions. I started work in 1974, and the trade unions in South Africa re-emerged in 1973. And I was part of that wave of becoming unionized and conscientized in that process. So I have a strong affiliation with class issues. I still see the world through class, and my engagement in photography was as an activist, wanting to use a medium to discuss. So these images do that in a sense. Um, the second image that you see has this pretty much the same. It's the same event. It's the same funeral, and here a young activist, youth activist, from civil society, rallies the attendees of that funeral, of these two. Here you see the two coffins, the two youth that were abducted and assassinated, basically. That's what happened. And here's the community calling for a stop to the killings. That didn't happen, really. The state and its proxy upped the ante right until 1994. And the interesting thing about this student is, of course, if you look carefully, you see a T-shirt that he's wearing that says "Stop the noise in the underground," and it's a call for the trade unions calling for health and safety measures to be implemented. And of course, somebody was reminding me just a few days ago that anything good that has ever happened for workers has happened through serious militant action to bring that about. Safety, for instance, that people take as like now, corporates are very big on safety. It had to be fought for every inch of the way, and people paid major sacrifices. Of course, that cross in the background. This is happening in a church. The altar in the background, the religious iconographic imagery on the wall, kind of lends to the urgency in some ways about what is taking place here. The third image, of course, really speaks to the effect of conflict on people. And the caption reads, "Mourners at the funeral of two United Democratic Front aligned youths abducted and murdered in the Natal War that engulfed the region. Mpopomeni, KwaZulu-Natal, 1987." So as I said, this is one event, one funeral. And these three images of this image of the woman who's comforting her sister, her relative, in her grief, probably a mother or an aunt of one of these, or a sister of one of the deceased youth, captures the strength that I recognize and that I'm attracted to. I've tried never to portray the people I photograph as victims, because what has always, even the poverty that South Africans live with today, what has always amazed me about South Africans is their resilience, their incredible fortitude that they display to overcome some of the most worst conditions people are faced with. And I think that's the spirit of the country that I'm recording this on Freedom Day, the 27th of April. and it'll be posted a few days later, obviously. But um, this is the spirit that will free us economically still, because we've got our political freedom, but not our economic freedom yet. But this is the spirit of South Africans that is, we have to be remembered. We are inundated with stories of corruption in our media. But actually, that's not us as South Africans. The majority of people I know are not corrupt. They, our institutions, yes, there's no doubt about it, that they accommodate corruption. But that can be changed because of the spirit that you see in this woman's eyes, that we will overcome even that. We are an extraordinary people, and we need to remember that on as we celebrate the first phase of our freedom and strive for the second phase. So I'll end it there and say thank you for watching. More information on myself and my work can be found on my website, a link to which, including my blog and email address, can be found in the video description below. If you like this talk, remember to click the like button and press subscribe. It helps the channel grow.